Hotepu Gatekeepers, let's continue our study of the Papyrus of Ani, the scriptures from the Blacks of the Nile Valley, and recall these texts are actually African scriptures, African holy books. And here we'll start at number 7, which correlates down here in English to number 7. So in Rinkam, or ancient Kemetic, ancient Egyptian, it reads, Ari tememu paut neteru resi mechetet amentet abtet. Okay, we'll stop there. So, Ari tememu paut neteru resi mechet amentet abtet. And it means, according to Budge, here at number 7, Thou, creator of mortals and of the companies of the gods of the south and of the north and of the west and of the east. So this section 7 is a continuation of the last video's conversation about this god, Tatunen, Wa. So I suggest that you may want to review that video to get a sense of the profundity of this one word, Tatunen, which means the vacuum, the clay, or the void. And the word Wa, or one here, means how space, or the vacuum, is the one thing that A, contains all things in the universe, and B, spiral itself into various shapes, manifesting itself as all things of the universe. In other words, what we see as material forms are actually condensations of space. So, with that, it says here, O Tatunen, O space, the creator, and space are the same thing. O space, maker of mortals, Ari tememu, and the Paut Neteru, the company of the gods of the north, south, east, and west. So this word Ari, very interesting. The word Ari here, this single I that never closes, is the word for to create, or creator, or to make, or to do. And what it's telling you here is the way in which Tatunen, space, created things, that creation occurs within the inner eye. This eye corresponds to, in you, to your pineal. That, let's say you want to manifest a new car. You can either just sit there and think it and hope for it, or you can go into a rather formalized internal state of plugging into your third eye directly and seeing it in the third eye. This glyph Ari, this eye, is telling you that's the way the Supreme Being did it. So if you iterate or copy his way of doing it, he will back you, because you're now imitating the Supreme One. So it's a deep revelation that the Creator saw everything first before it manifested. This has many implications about the arrow of time, the so-called arrow of time. That if all things were made first in the eye or the mind of the Creator, that means the beginning, middle, and end of our universe has already been seen and thought out in the mind of Neter, the mind of the one almighty androgynous Creator. So you have already been seen in the mind of the Creator. What's happening to you tomorrow has already been seen and planned in the mind of the Creator. The only difference is that we, as congealed forms of space, densified material dense forms of space matter are behests to the laws of time, meaning what the Creator saw instantly in his arit, his eye, must express itself slowly through time. But trust me, what will happen tomorrow has already been seen by the Creator. And those people who learn to activate their third eye, which is the same eye that the Creator used. It's the same eye. There's only one eye. That's why it's only one eye. There's only one third eye. Like there's only one sun, but it has many, many rays. So we could say that the rays are also the sun. Yes? So it's really only one sun. So your third eye is the third eye. It is the Creator's third eye. There's no difference. That's why this word wa, meaning one, singularity, only oneness. So if you learn how to go into the third eye meditational state and fly into that eye, and I teach very simple yet powerful techniques of actually flying into the third eye and flipping it on. Now the Creator is seeing your car. That's a lot more power, a lot more backing behind you now than just your own small mind. So creative visualization is not simply closing your eyes and picturing something. It's picturing it within the third eye. That changes everything. And we are able to do that. We are able to create with that eye. Create an empire, a pyramid, a car, a relationship. Create happy gay marriages. It's all possible within that one eye. Then it gets a bit more interesting. Now, of course, the eye, just a little FYI, has the vesica piscis shape. What's called the vesica piscis, or that kind of oval shape, and that shape also resembles the mouth. And the mouth is the word to speak. So the way they drew this eye very much with the vesica emphasis is telling you that the eye speaks, that pictures are language. That's why they're called hieroglyphics. You see, you have to visualize the hieroglyph, is what it's saying, in order to create that car, that house, that wonderful gay marriage. And also, the word for mouth represents a vibrating string linking creation to the weaving of cosmic threads. That the universe in Kemet, in our gay cosmology, the universe, right after it has come into manifestation from potential to kinetic, looks like tendrils of energy, almost like the tendrils of threads or of an octopus or squid. And along those tendrils are luminosity nodes. And each luminosity node, and these tendrils are gigantic, they're galactic sizes. There is a world, a complete world. And there are certain magical techniques we do. At the center of your scapula, between your two shoulder blades, there is a point. And then if you think of that point between the center of your scapula, and then you project your mind an arm's length behind you, there is an eye that floats there, because you are surrounded by what's called the Zuhet. Zuhet means in ancient Rinkam and ancient Kemetic, egg. You are surrounded in what's called the Zuhet. And arm's length, starting from the center of your scapula to the tip of your middle finger, if it were pointing arm's length behind you, you will find an eye that floats and hovers there. And that eye is your point of view, meaning that eye is staring at a certain point on a certain tendril of energy in the cosmos. and we do certain, what we call winds of Ra, certain mysterious movements that can loosen that eye from its attachment to a specific point on a thread tendril, a cosmic string, and loosen it just by like a nano micromillimeter, an itty bitty bit. That simple shift will have you see the world from a whole new point of view. Because that eye can become stuck on a point of view. And initiation is the science of moving that eye to start scanning other tendrils, other parts of a tendril, going inside or around a tendril to get new ways of perceiving the universe. It is very methodical. It is very scientific, meaning I can give 10 people the same movement and they'll have the same results. Well, in their own way, but the same general results of, oh, I did see this kind of dimension or this kind of world. You see? Then it says Ari Tememu, which but defines here as mortals, but Tememu actually means humankind. Tememu. In particular, initiated humans. But it also can refer to generic people, the human species. So it's interesting that this I is linked to humanity, because we are beings of what? Consciousness. Perception is our speciality. The tiger has the strength. The cheetah has the speed. The black widow has the poison. We are no match for the awesome powers of nature. All that we have is our mind, and the levels to which we can take our mind to receive information, invention, and ways out of the challenges that nature throws our way. Earthquakes, storms, floods, animal attacks, famines. Now the word Tememu, Temu is a god. The word Tem means no, not, nothing. Tim. No. Tim. So it says that humans are a god, is what it's actually telling you, saying here. That humans are a divine being, the god Temu. Temu is a god of space, the clay, the void, the vacuum. And what this is saying is that humans are made of possibility. But we are the beings in the universe who have the possibility of perception. That's why the eye is over here. Ari Tememu. This could also mean the perceiving possibilities. We are the ones that can see an unlimited number of possibilities in any scenario. Animals can't do that. When they're attacked, they see 2 possibilities, fight or flight. When they're hungry, they see 1 possibility, eat. We could eat, we could fast, we could ignore hunger, we could tell jokes and keep running and keep playing. We have options. So the perceiving space that can perceive itself. What a brilliant philosophical statement it's making here. You are space that can perceive any possibility. You are that point in time-space that can have unlimited ways of looking at a situation. Tem also means to be complete, as in finished, fulfilled. That's all, folks. So Temu, or Tememu, can mean humanity should be those who are fully awakened, fully perceptive. This I here. Completely awakened in consciousness. The I is consciousness. And this word, Ari Tememu, actually defines the entire Egyptian initiatic or educational system. The whole idea of their initiation / education system was to help each citizen have the chance through initiation in the temples to have unlimited awareness of the possibilities within their space. What's called in fractals your state space or your boundary condition. And within a boundary condition, if you drew a circle, let's say, and let's say you drew a circle inside that circle, and then a smaller circle and concentric, you can keep going infinitely. There's an unlimited number of circles you can get to if you have a small enough pen or stylus. So within your boundary is infinity. Like with 88 keys of piano, you only have 88 keys. It's called a boundary condition. But within that, you have unlimited possibility of songs. So the function of our gay men's initiation system is exactly what this text tells us from the ancient scriptures of the Nile Valley. That the design function of initiation is to get the initiate able to see the infinity of consciousness within his situation, within his experiences, within his state space. Okay? Now, then it moves on. Now, here we have these three vertical lines here. The word Ari Tememu and the word for humans ends with these three lines. What are these three lines? These three lines correspond to the mystery in the Great Pyramid, which I believe is the first time we may have seen three vertical straight lines. These lines refer to the chambers of the pyramid: the king's chamber, the middle chamber, and the chamber of beasts. That humans, the word humans, tememu, have the possibility of rising from the animal consciousness of the lower chamber to the heroic consciousness of the fighter for righteousness, to the highest consciousness symbolized by the king's chamber of the cosmic awareness. Also, these three lines resemble the human spine, the chakra system, and coded in this tripartite division of these dashed lines is the secret. Because you see here this figure, the lines match the same height as the person's back. You see? That's why they're shown squatting, to emphasize we want you to focus on the back. Because if they were standing upright, you wouldn't quite get the feeling of focusing just on the spine. But here the figures, their root chakra, their base of their spine hits the earth and goes upwards towards the sky, just like these three lines. It was a trick used by the wise scribes, the Seshu, to focus the initiate's awareness on your back, your spine. You see, this line is backing the figures. You see? So this lower tick mark refers to 7 evil, wicked chakras that go from your soles of your feet up to your perineum. Few people know this, but you have 3 sets of 7 chakras. So 21 major chakras. 7 from the feet to the perineum. That's the lower chamber. Same thing as the lower chamber in the Giza Great Pyramid. Then you have 7, the famous 7, I'm sure you've all heard of, between your root perineum to your crown chakra. That's the middle chamber, which links to the star Sopedu, or Sirius. Then you have 7 more chakras that go from the crown of your head to about arm's length above your head. So you've got 7 that are evil, called the 7 wicked chakras. Then you have 7 chakras that are a mix of wicked and divine. Then you have 7 chakras that are pure, absolutely pure in their intent. If you wanted to go to the Dravidian, Black India labeling of this, you have 7 chakras that are called tamas, which means dark and ignorant and materialistic. That's down here. The middle chamber would be called rajas, which means energetic, passionate, go-getting, achievement-oriented, here. And then the top would be called sattva, which means purity, divinity, spirituality. So humans are those who are able to perceive, Ari, the space of possibilities of the highest consciousness. They're able to perceive through the lower animal beast chakra, through the mix of good and evil chakra of humans, or through the highest chakra of the king's chamber of purity and the land of light. All that's hidden in this little glyph. Next we have the word paut, neteru. Paut is the word that means clay, bread, matter, or the gods. Paut also can mean ancestors, your paut or your ancestors. It has many meanings. Pau means to fly, like a bird flying, pau, or pa. So, in this case, the word paut, meaning the, as he puts here, companies of the gods, but it means the material foundation of the gods of your chart, of the ecliptic, equator, and horizon of your chart. You see? So paut means that the gods of your chart, your ecliptic, equatorial, and horizon deities of your astrology wheel, are made of divine matter, meaning they are isomorphic. This means you got to ask the question, why would the masters, the gay masters of Kemet, write paut, meaning cosmic matter, cosmic dust, as the same thing as deity? Because the neteru are archetypes, which are non-local, and they are isomorphic, meaning they can influence the shape that matter will take around you. They can influence the shape of events that come to you karmically. The neteru are the archetypes, meaning your states of mind and energy. Your inner warrior is the Mahus, war god. Your inner achiever is Ptah. So whenever you're feeling the need to achieve something, I've got to get this done, I've got to get a new job, I've got to get a promotion, I've got to finish cleaning out this closet, trying to succeed at a project, the part of you you're flipping on is Ptah, what we call the god Ptah, or the sign Capricorn, the goatfish. So as you're thinking that, you're thinking, I need to complete this task, I need to succeed, that thought is moving the paut. It's actually morphing matter. First mental matter, then emotional matter, then physical matter. This fantastic phrase, paut neteru, means that the neteru can manifest through matter. They can influence and shape and mold the material events of your life. This is called synchronicity, where the external events around you are a fractal mirror of your internal states of consciousness. So the subject and object distinction collapses in this phrase. So the problems you're having at work are not separate from you, the subject, and the problems you're having about work in your mind. Change your internal state, you change your external condition, called Paut Neteru. The Neteru influence the forms that are magnetized to you. In particular, the Neteru, or the archetypes of the ecliptic solar 12 signs, the equatorial signs, and the horizon energies of heliacal rising stars, etc., achronical setting stars, and circumpolar curtail passage, etc., etc. It gets quite involved. So, the karma-making gods of my chart, of the directions, of the Resit, Resi, Mechtet, Amentet, Aptet. Of the north, or Resit, would be the south, north, east, and west of my chart. So, the south, north, east, and west. Okay. These directions have power. To the blacks of Kemet, north was down, south is up. So their maps would be the opposite of white people's maps. So we will put Africa on top and Europe on the bottom, because the Nile flows downstream towards the north. You see? So south would be top, north would be bottom, east would be to your left, west would be to your right. Okay? So, but they start here with the south, which is significant, because in the earliest mummies or dead found in Egypt, these are before the mummification process actually, when they just buried them in the hot sands, and the sand and the heat would desiccate the body and preserve it. This is before they had the natron and that whole process. Back in the earliest days of Kemetic burials, going down to the Kush, Kemetic Kush people, and more down towards the Congo, they would place the deceased in a little dugout in the sand, their head pointed south, with their face turned to the east. So their head pointing south to their origins of the motherland, and their face turned to the east of resurrecting. This was just traditional Kemetic burial style. So the south is where they came from. They came from Central Africa near the Congo, and Lake Nyanza. And even in death, they wanted to remember the fatherland down there, the origins, home. Home, Dorothy, home. And the south is where they say the gods were born. That all the gods, if you want to find a deity, look to the south. So the south was a very sacred direction to them. It was the source of the fatherland of origins and the birth of the gods. So south would be your crown chakra. That's the top, from the Kemetic point of view. The next word is Mechtet, which is interesting because Mech means to flood. Mech also means swamp, because downstream the Nile you were going towards the Mediterranean. So the Nile would drain itself into the delta, into the marshy swamps of the delta, because the delta is really quite swampy, and then finally spill out into the Mediterranean. So the delta was kind of seen as the Nile excreting itself. The swampy, swarthy kind of area that no human wants to live in. Nobody wants to really live in the swamps. The real high culture of Kemet was more inland, going south towards interior Africa. So we viewed all the northern countries like Europe as the swamplands. Barbarians live there, and they're primitives. They don't have calendars, they barely speak languages, they have no real temples of the gods. The Kamau found them to be very primitive and very brutish. That's where all the Vikings came from, and the Aryans came from, and all these violent people with no sense of the gods of the south. There are no gods. In fact, the north is the direction of demons, because it's the opposite of the south. South is the gods, therefore the north must be the demons. And so we view the north as a very wild, primitive, barbaric place that no civilized Kamau really wanted to live in. You see? And we viewed Europe as the swamps. It was just a place that we don't want to go there. We don't want to. No, we're good, thanks. Okay? And it's true, because when the whites came up from the north, yes, what do? Destroyed. They destroyed, like swamp creatures, every culture of color they touched. Like a bacteria or a virus. Wherever they touched African cultures, the cultures fell apart. That's the history of white people and people of color. And it really hasn't changed whatsoever since then. It's that whites now are more slick about it, but the bottom line is they have everyone's land. They stole the land from Aborigines, Native Americans, Africans, and their resources and their culture, and it's not changed. So we still see those swamp creature traits in the overall white culture. You see? So this means the north would be the swamps or the root chakra, the primitive materialistic chakra. The word meh also means full. It could also mean materialistic, full of things, always wanting things. You see? And the white people are the most materialistic people in the world. Never have we seen an obsession with material things and money as we have seen with white people. So they to us are considered as a group just swampy. Next we have Amentet, which is the west. This is the land of the ancestors. So the south is the land of the gods. The north is the land of the demons. The west is the land of the dead, the ancestors. So here we're talking about dealing with the dead and their mysteries. And the east, Aptet, is the land of the living. So we have gods, demons, the dead, and the living. What's interesting is which came first. You notice because Kamau people are always looking at things in twos, in threes with a dual internal division. So if we take south and north, these are opposites of the same axis. The south meridian, north meridian, same axis. So we start with the gods, and their opposite is the demons. Then we divide these two in half from these two. So we have gods and demons, or immortal beings. Then we have the mortal beings, the dead and the living. So 2 and 2. And the 2 and 2 are linked to each other. Okay? Now, notice that we have the more malefic directions, meaning the demonic north and the land of death, the west, hemmed in by the gods and the living. That the gods, the living must work with the gods, the east must work with the south to contain and direct the malefic forces of the demons and of the dead. It's a very interesting storyline in the sequence of what direction came where. Okay? Now, I want to draw your attention to an interesting detail, again, one we've not seen with these tick marks. Look here for south. This is Resi, this one here, south. It has a double tick mark, the glyph, this triangle for land, and then a single tick mark. Here we have clearly shown what is known in the system of the Ifa divination of the Yoruba, double stroke, single stroke. When they write their Udu divination sequences, they're written with double stroke exactly like this, and then single stroke exactly like that, telling you that in the south it is the land of the divinations, the land of the diviners, because the Ifa system comes from a word Ifa, If-a or Af-a in Egyptian. If or Af means body, flesh, and A is a word for the god of wisdom called Tehuti. So If-a, Af-a in Egyptian means my flesh, meaning the god of wisdom, that the oracles are my flesh. When you get a reading, that's the living body of the god of wisdom falling in the divination coins or shells or chain. So this is telling us that divination, and the divination came from the south of the Nile, down south. Blacks love to go down south. That's why we still have this feeling, even in the Americas, of going down south, where much of our strength was gotten. And even in South America, a lot of the South American people who were terrorized by the white terrorists called slave traders, a lot of the South American prisoners of war became strong because they preserved the religions of their African origins in the form of Santeria. So it's in the South that blacks tend to get their power together. You see? And it's in the South that the oracle was born. This means the land of the double and single stroke. And here we have the reference to the oracle of what's called Ifa. Now, the oracle of Ifa, which is perhaps the most powerful oracle on the earth, it's one of the most powerful by far. When the pharaohs saw the swamp creature whites coming from the north to raid and to bring their war upon civilized, God-fearing people, Neteru-fearing people, the pharaohs knew that the constellations of the north, Mechtet, the northern constellations, were gaining power. Because it means that the north constellations in the Dendera zodiac are wicked. There is a hippo, there is a crocodile, there is a jackal, there is the leg of Set, the leg of evil, called Mesketu, or the Big Dipper. So we have cunning, predatory canine creatures. We have hippos, which kill more humans than any other animal in Africa. We have crocodiles. These are some vicious, vicious creatures. And we knew that the people coming from the north will be embodying the demonic forces of the crocodiles, the wolves, Romulus and Remus, suckled on the teats of a wolf. That's the stars of the Little Dipper, called Polaris, and we call it Apwat, or Sabu, which means Sabu means jackal. So the cunning people, the tricksters are coming, and the crocodiles are coming, and the man-eating hippos are coming, and the leg of evil is coming from the north. So when we saw this, and this is when we saw the pyramid, its northern entrance angles towards Draco, which means dragon. We call it the hippo, Taur, but in modern astronomy it's called Draco, which means dragon. And we knew that when the North Pole lined up with the dragon and then began to tick slowly towards the jackal, the North Pole means the root chakra of all peoples on earth. That the sky is going to now energize people's root chakra. And we knew the whites of the north were the ones most in the root chakra. So we knew they're coming, because they're the ones most vibrating to this chakra. In that chakra sits what? The North Pole stars. The dragon, the fire-breathing beast, the hippopotamus that eats more humans, the crocodile, the tricky, nasty, vicious crocodile, the predatorial, cunning jackal called the pale fox, or the white man's tongue, the smooth talker, the trickster. That the whites were going to get power from the North Pole stars to turn these monstrous creatures on in their collective root chakra. And then, fed by the starlight that the earth is pointing to now, these polar stars, the whites will come to power. We saw all of this coming in our astrology. So the pharaohs decreed an order to their priests and said, disperse the temples, break them up, and preserve them in smaller pockets throughout Africa, the old mix of South America, the Stonehenge people of Ireland, in India, in Khmer, Cambodia, in China, in Japan. Break it up. Hawaii, Easter Island, the earth mounds of the North Americas, and preserve it. We have to break it up to protect it. So the Pharaoh assigned the task of preserving the oracles of Egypt, the Afa, or the Ifa, and told those Kamau, I need you to go to West Africa, to what is now called the Yoruba land. Take the shrine of Ma'a, take the shrine of Tehuti. He will live and be preserved according to our visions and calculations in what is now known as the Yoruba area. So those high priests of wisdom migrated to preserve their beloved religion west and settled in what we now know the Yoruba nation area and preserved that shrine. But here is proof that the very strokes used to make it were in Kemet. Okay? So in sum, it is saying, O space, the one that unites all things. Space, maker of humans who can perceive infinitely within space, and maker of the synchronicities within humans' charts of the north, south, east, and west, or actually the south, north, east, west, and east of a person's chart. The south would be what's called your MC, your medium coli, or the highest point of your chart. Its opposite would be the north, the IC, the imum coli, or the bottom of the chart, the nadir. The west would be your descending sign, your descendant, and the east would be your rising sign. So space, or the universe, or the vacuum, made humans able to perceive all the gods in their chart that are linked to the directions surrounding them all. Okay? So that's this podcast. I pray you enjoyed it, and may these texts continue to empower the gay community to have a source of spiritual food to feed them where no other religions are feeding us. So one of our own comes forth to feed our own, because how can you help the world if you don't help your own first? So I pray that all the gatekeepers and gay people out there enjoy these podcasts and can turn to these audios and these videos to give them inspiration, spiritual food, and love. So be well. Dwawend Hotepu.